feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back, everybody. Had an awesome show today with a dear friend and Paul Kroll from the Athletic Club of Columbus. Have seen him sort of behind the scenes really help grow the Columbus Athletic Club to what it's been today. And it's just been fascinating to see. Very proud of what he's done and all the intention behind it, the skill that they've implemented, and really going through a tough time over the pandemic and just prospering during those years, which has just been a credit to him and the organization and team and staff. But appreciate having you on today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Phil.
First question. So how did you get into hospitality, English major? Why don't you take the audience through a little bit about how you got to where you are and sort of what led you down this path?
Right. I'll try to make it a speed journey because it's a long one. But I'll start really with growing up. Kid of the 70s, early 80s, and that was a time when people weren't going out to restaurants all the time. My dad was a policeman, 5 kids. You're not going out to restaurants. So when you do, or when we did, it was a special thing. And I remember being at my uncle's restaurant. He had a nice steakhouse, and I would remember going in and just studying the maitre d', or really more of the host, servers, bartender. I just felt like it was just this special ritual place. So it was kind of that, I think, ingrained it. Also, definitely my mother, grandmothers all cooked, so having great food was really important. Going into college, went to school in downtown Detroit, needed to work, so went and found a restaurant job at a place called the Rattlesnake Club. When it opened, it was quite a splash in the Midwest. Jimmy Schmidt was a James Beard best chef of the Midwest. He was kind of a darling of a lot of the food publications at the time. Working with him was Madeline Trefan, who was the first woman master sommelier in the country. So that was quite an education to see that, but also it kind of hardwired me in terms of what you could expect and what you could experience being part of that show, both on the being in the team and also being a guest. So fully enthralled. I thought, moving through my college years, I thought, hey, I think I really want to be in labor law. So I got a job in HR with Allstate Insurance for 4 years, and I liked it. But I realized then, like, if you don't love something, I'm not going to distinguish myself. So I couldn't help but love hospitality, and I couldn't help but want to go back into it. I talked to a headhunter, and he said, "Have you considered private clubs?" Like, well, that's something. So started in private clubs in Detroit, and then was in 2 clubs in Detroit, and then went to St. Louis, and became a general manager in St. Louis. I managed 2 clubs there, and before coming to Columbus. That kind of brings us up today.
So we all know that since COVID, the hospitality and services industry has been hit pretty hard. So we talked a great deal on the show about staffing, developing staffing, and then I was really impressed of kind of your response and the club's take towards retention and taking care of the people that you have. So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I recall I mentioned something of wanting to create an environment where staff could spend a lifetime. I knew when I made the transition from thinking of hospitality as a short term or as something you do during college to something that can be a career. When I made that transition, it was really impactful. I mean, just the level of respect given to those in hospitality industry. It's something that I've carried with me, and it's something that I'm part of an environment. We also talked about an environment of the membership, the board, committees, other staff. Everybody's collaborative and on the same page in terms of what does staff deserve. They deserve treatment in terms of pay, in terms of benefits. Benefits also being time off and how the respect and dignity that's given to them are shared amongst everybody. That's what we're trying to create. So it's not something where you reach a threshold and you say, we did it, and that's it. It's something where it's a constant, you got to be in that headspace where you're always looking for the change and the expectation and keep the dialogue going. And that's something that, again, it's really embraced at the athletic club.
That's really awesome. For people who aren't familiar with private city clubs, what purpose does the Columbus Athletic Club and nationwide, these private city clubs, what purpose and mission do they serve for their members?
Mm-hmm. There are practical purposes, and then there are layers of purpose. So the most practical is, hey, I'm working in or around downtown. I need some place professionally to take people to lunch or to dinner. I need some place to, in the case of an athletic club, I need a place to exercise. So that's the most practical. And then you get to the community part of it, is that I can work out and see the same people and get to know people as I'm working out. The member events that we do, you get to see the same people, and you establish relationships. So that's certainly another layer of it. And then ultimately, not ultimately, but another layer is kind of it's an extension of your personal identity and your personal brand. And so that's another level of responsibility the club has to make sure that how we're reacting to any situation within the club in terms of service levels or fairness decisions or whatever it is, it really reflects the membership and it's consistent with that. So we realize a lot of those things are moving all together.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thanks for joining us. And as we wrap up here, you can reach Paul at the Athletic Club. You can call the main number and ask for him, or you can reach him at pkroll@accolumbus.com. Correct? Did I nail that?
That's right. You nailed it.
So also, too, we are on any streaming service. So find us, hit the like button. This is a nice sort of summary of some of the highlights from the show. So please feel free to listen to the whole show as well. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Paul.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank.